got the assist, but he's got a good panoramic vision of the court in the half court in transition. He's doing a nice job of quarterbacking the team here in the second half.
And the answer by Henry, who's fouled going up. All right, so extra passes, they talked about this a lot.
I like the poise with the double team, the kick out, and then the one more. So ball reversal in play, no wasted dribbles, but instead transporting the ball through the air and getting that high percentage look on the backside where the math is favorable.
Yeah.
PJ Henry going to the free throw line. The Tigers 5 of 9 from the line tonight.
It's always good when the ball can access the paint either via pass, penetration.
Nice friendly roll. First 4 coverage of the NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Championship begins tomorrow at 7 on ESPNU. For more information on game times and listings, go to ncaa.com. Second shot for PJ Henry. Again, Tigers with no double-figure scores, averaging no double-figure scores all season long. They have 1 in double figures. It's Etienne today.
We'll get started in just a second, everybody. Just trying to get some stuff situated here. And we'll go right into it again. We're just listening right now to this 16 versus 16 matchup. What up on the bus? This is from the burn. What up? What up?
Slip it down to the baseline to Mushila. Back in his way.
Watching this Texas Tech, CC, Corpus Christi versus Texas Southern. Good matchup so far. You obviously know that these lower seed matchups are always going to be good. You're fighting for your life here, trying to get into the tournament. I know Texas A&M was there last year, I believe.
And kick that ball out.
I think Texas Southern was there too, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll look more into these teams again. We're not really going to do the first 4 teams. Man, he missed that.
Gresham with the rebounds.
Excellent pass.
But yeah, if you guys don't know, today, guys, we are going to be talking about, and again, I'll just mute this
big swing there, layup
kind of
at one end, missed a bunny at point blank range.
Again, a little different than most.
And Texas Southern.
But we're gonna really be looking at these brackets today and just talking about who we like, who we dislike. My intern, aka Sean, should be in here relatively soon. Let me see if he's joined right now. Sean, if you were hearing me, I sent you an invite to the Discord. Let me know if you don't get it. If you haven't, I will try to add you if I can find you on here. I think I added you here, so let me. I think we got Sean in the chat. He'll be ready to go in just a second. And then we'll kind of get the show on the road, get it started, and, you know, have you guys enjoy what should be a good game. The next game, I believe, is the Indiana-Wyoming game, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check on that for you guys as you are watching here on The Charge. Let's see here. Let's go ESPN, because it should be on ESPN as the top thing. I believe it's the next game. Let's see, men's. I'll be ready to go in just a second. Uh-oh. Do I hear the most bestest internist everest? I don't know what I was going for there, but obviously intern aka Sean joining us here relatively soon. Yeah, so the next game is going to be the number 12 seed Wyoming versus Indiana. That should be a great game as well. A lot of people are having Wyoming as kind of their need to see you as a head coach somewhere soon. Hey, Tar Heel Nation, man, we're
Can you hear me?
We're working on it. Sean, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I don't hear myself coming through the YouTube.
You don't? Oh, hang on. Joining us here relatively soon. Yeah, so the next game is going to be the number 12. I can hear my echo. Like, not the echo, but like the YouTube video. It might be delayed, Sean. That's why, maybe. Let me know if you can hear it. And if you can't, I will adjust accordingly. As we are getting this situated, hopefully, I think the game should be on mute. Yeah. Okay, the game is on mute. Let me know, Sean, if you can hear yourself. If not, I will fix that appropriately. There's a huge delay. Yeah, I can't find a way to change that, Sean. But if you can hear yourself, I think you're good. I'm not sure why there's a huge delay on my end. I can... I'll have to change the settings before I stream again. But we'll kind of go over this stuff, relatively soon. As soon as he gets off of mute, like he's a freaking Zoomer. And once he gets off mute, we'll talk about the NCAA tournament. Tar Heel Nation, that's the goal, man. At least to be an assistant coach somewhere in college. That's the goal. We're working on that right now, trying to learn the plays, trying to learn everything basketball terminology wise. It's a lot of fun actually learning all this stuff. It can be challenging at times and frustrating because you feel like you should know it, but sometimes you don't. But it's always good to have kids help you out along the way. You have great kids. That's what it's really all about. It's about the kids. And so if they're not part of it, then it just becomes I would say it just becomes lame. So just try and make a good experience for them, both positivity and all that stuff. So as we are kind of waiting for Sean to join us again, guys, I forgot green screen with a green water bottle. Green screen. Today we're going to be doing our NCAA March Madness brackets. We're going to kind of be going over some of these teams, what we like about them, what we don't like about them, and really go over our picks. I know Sean, the reason why I picked Sean here today is because he's probably watched the most college basketball out of all maybe not the most out of all our friend group, but definitely one of the ones that does his research in terms of really looking at Gonzaga. Every time I talk Gonzaga with him, he's always talking great stuff. And obviously being a huge Zags fan, I'm sure we all know where he's going with it. But again, we are going to wait for him to join us before we start talking again. And if you guys don't know, the game is still 39-40. Texas Southern has taken the lead by 1 point. And again, we will wait and see for Sean. Let's see here, it scored. Okay, just checking in with him a little quickly. I'll put the game back on until he decides to come back again. The game again, 41-39, Texas Southern, and that's a.
Basket is no good, but he's going to go to the free throw line.
Lab, doesn't it feel like Texas A&M, they're just imposing their size? Texas Southern, they're just imposing their size on Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Yeah, the size at the rim, the resistance has been impressive. They're also checking on the boards.
Hoping
and rebounding
come back
to
and
get down the floor.
Fun player to watch. He is the fun player to watch.
It's been impressive too, in terms of being patient, making the extra pass, getting organized if they don't have the numbers in the break.
By the way, they're also not subbing as much, so they just subbed there with John Walker coming in.
Tar Heel Nation, do you have any updates on him, like in terms of like where he's at? I know he hurt his ankle and he's probably going to miss a couple of games. That thing looks pretty nasty. I'll show you guys what it looks like if you guys are interested. Again, Krisa, I believe is how you pronounce it. Is a point guard or guard for the Wildcats of Arizona, and this is what the ankle looks like. So it's pretty nasty. So this I have no idea how a person can heal from that quickly, especially when it comes to the tournament. I don't believe that they'll have any issues. We'll go over like where I feel like Arizona will be even without him. I do think that their guard play is a little weak once their two guards are fouled out or there's some issues with them. So again, like this is probably a huge indication of some weak guard play coming from Arizona. But I don't think it should affect them too much until they get to the later stages of.
All right, you should be able to hear me now.
All right, Sean, are you there? You are live
I'm here.
with us. All right, let me turn down the game a little bit so you can we can hear our beautiful intern's voice. All right, Sean, you are officially live on the charge. Welcome back. I know it's been a minute since you've been on the channel itself. How have things been, man?
Things have been good. Just excited to see what the Zags are gonna do. It's the best time of the year with March Madness, so I'm very pumped.
All right. And before we get started, guys, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Again, the more likes, the more subscribers, the more that this channel grows. And again, I want to expand this channel even more. I want to do some projects here on the channel as well and kind of make it what I believe it can be at some point, which is like an ESPN-esque type of channel where we can talk about different things, not just necessarily basketball, even though basketball is my pride and joy. But it would be nice to give opportunities to other people that would love to talk sports here on the channel. And so we'll talk about that and kind of do that as well at some point in the future for some people, the special guest. I know Tyrese wanted to do a show as well, and we'll definitely talk about that as we kind of continue going on here. But nevertheless, we're not here to talk about the charge. We're here to talk about, of course, March Madness. So again, all 64 teams, or 68 teams, I should say, have been selected. Again, we got two games going on today. Of course, we got the Texas Southern versus Texas A&M CC, and then of course we got Wyoming, Indiana, which should be the most anticipated game of today, just because of how awesome. I would say it's awesome just because of the way that it all shakes out, and this should be a fun matchup again. And then tomorrow night we got Bryant versus Wright State, I believe, and then we have Notre Dame versus Rutgers. Rutgers is a surprisingly hot team coming in here, so we'll see how this pans out for them. But again, those are the final 4 teams in. Again, we can argue about what team should be in, what team shouldn't be in. I know that there was a lot of debate against Notre Dame being in here, but it is what it is, as they would say here in the streets. Why don't we start with my first pick, and Sean, you'll kind of follow along with me.
Yep.
Is that cool?
Works for me.
All right, let's start off with the West. The West, I think, obviously Gonzaga's bracket. We all know you're a big Gonzaga fan, Sean. For this pick, Georgia State, Gonzaga, it's a no-brainer. It's got to be Georgia State going in there. But no, really, actually,
Completely agree.
Easy. But it's actually going to be Gonzaga. I just think that they're too good. They're too skilled. And it kind of reminds me of their last year's run. I see them, a lot of people are like, oh, well, they were worried about them at the beginning of the tournament just because obviously COVID happened and everything that was going on there. They had to go to a different location, no fans, no nothing. But I think the Zags have this in the first game. I don't think Georgia State, even though they had, I don't think the coach's son, Hunter, is there anymore. I believe he moved on to a different team. So they're coached by a different coach now. And I just don't see it being an issue. Sean, who do you have for this game?
I mean, it's going to be Gonzaga by 20 plus. It's just going to be a complete mismatch. And they're going to fly through this round.
Yeah, I agree. There should be no battles here. And again, Sean, if there's a team that's in here as well that you have a little bit more insider knowledge on, let me know, and I'm down to just talk a little bit about that, talk shop.
Sounds good.
But let's move on to the next game. Boise State versus Memphis. I know that the former assistant coach for Gonzaga is a coach at Boise State. They're a good team in the Mountain West, but I'll tell you this, Sean, I've been watching some Memphis because I've been really trying to pay attention as an NBA kind of draft analyst, or supposedly so-called draft analyst. And I looked at the Memphis Tigers, and I thought, Monty Bates was going to be the guy to kind of carry them. He had a back injury. He was not involved at all in this sort of run that they sparked. Again, in January, a lot of people were thinking that this team was not even going to make the tournament. But Penny Hardaway, credit to him, has galvanized the troops there in Memphis and has definitely carried this team to a standard, especially under Jalen Duren, who, again, is a very underrated center and so athletic. I don't know if you watched any of their games, Sean. Probably one of the most athletic centers, or, kind of low post positions I've ever seen in college. And so I'm very excited actually for this next matchup, and that's why I have to go Memphis in here and going with the Gonzaga-Memphis matchup. Chet versus Jalen Duren. That should be the matchup everyone should be looking forward to. Who do you got, Sean?
It's going to be a close game, but yeah, Memphis was super hyped to begin the season. I'm looking at it now. They were ranked 12 in the country to start before a game had been played. And they looked terrible. They looked terrible at the beginning. And it seems like, Penny Hardaway has kind of turned them around. They're on a really hot streak. I think they'd won like 9 of their last 10. But Boise State is very disciplined, but I think they're too small. I've been looking at their roster, and although they play good ball, It looks like all their forwards are about 6'7", and so I think simply they're going to be outmatched in size and athleticism. And I think, kind of the chaos of the first round is going to let Memphis seed-wise pull the upset. Although looking at Memphis, they were supposed to be a top 10 team going into this year, and they really struggled. But I have Memphis winning this. But I think it's going to be close. And I mean, there's definitely a chance for an upset, or I guess not an upset, but Boise State, smaller school, being able to pull one out. But I'm going to go with Memphis too.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Memphis, they just seem to have the momentum going in. And again, Tar Heel Nation, you kind of said it precisely what I was saying. Like, they are playing better without Imani Bates, who is a potential in the next, not this year, but the next year's draft as a top 2 prospect. So we'll see what happens with them, or let's see what happens with Imani Bates and see if he goes to the G League or if he goes stays for another year at Memphis. But let's move on to the next game. This one obviously has a lot of fans kind of chopping at the bits. We all know the 5 and 12 seed has been kind of the biggest sort of, a lot of people pick the 12 seeds over the 5. This is kind of one of people's favorite matchups. New Mexico State, Chris Jans, again, he's been here for 5 years, Sean. This guy has continuously gotten New Mexico State into the tournament each and every year, and I've been very excited, and kind of it's awesome to see that he's kind of made a name for himself, especially in the conference that I can't remember. They play in the same conference, I believe, as the Seattle U Redhawks. I'm trying to remember what their conference is called, but this is the 3rd year in a row that he's earned the 12 seed for New Mexico State, so it's awesome to see that. We'll see how it goes, but they're playing UConn. Again, this UConn team, I don't know much about this UConn team. I'll say that much. I don't know, Sean, if you have any notes on them.
I would say the UConn team is more top heavy in the sense that they have a couple good players, but they're definitely inconsistent. I mean, they have one really good guard. I'm just pulling up the stats here. Tyrese Martin shoots 42% from 3. Neither of these teams are that good at 3-point shooting. So again, this is definitely one that could go either way. For me, I'd say I'm leaning towards the upset. I think UConn just over the past couple of years, I know it's always different, but they've been really inconsistent. And when they have made the tournament, it seems like they're always primed to get upset. And usually when they're down and counted out in the lower seed is when they'll go on a run. For me, I think New Mexico is going to be able to pull this one out and win.
Yeah, I mean, I do like what New Mexico is doing here, but in my opinion, I think this is going to be one of the games where I think the number 5 seed will grind it out and get the win. I got UConn in the next round, but again, like you said, Sean, this is a perfect matchup for the 12-5 upset. I like what I see from New Mexico State. I think they're one of these teams that, similar to Gonzaga probably 20 years ago, has kind of started to build a culture there under Jans, and it's cool to see that that culture stay there. Again, they're not going to be, I would say, they're not going to be anything like Gonzaga, just because of the conference that they play in. It's not as competitive, but at the same time, I just don't see them building that. And I mean, New Mexico's a hard place to sell, but in terms of the game here, I got UConn winning that. Moving on to the 4 and 13. Another kind of upset alert that people have been picking. It is Arkansas versus Vermont. This one to me is going to be a very interesting one. I know SEC has been kind of down in terms of basketball this year. They have a couple of good teams. I think Tennessee obviously being one of them. Kentucky, obviously, the gold standard for them. But at the same time, I'm just not convinced with the way that I'm just not convinced with Arkansas in terms of being that type of team. Vermont, again, it's a team that has not lost in a very long time. It seems that they're kind of one of those teams that is a mid-major that knows how to win, can find ways to win. And I'm going with the upset here, Sean. I'm going with Vermont. Vermont winning this round and going with a 13 over a 4 seed. What you got for us, Sean?
You're stealing my prime upset here because Vermont has 3 players shooting over 40% from 3, and every single player in their starting lineup can shoot from 3. To me, when you have teams that can live and die by the 3, they're primed to pull off some big upsets. And so for me, Vermont was one of those ones I had over Arkansas because they've been so inconsistent.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. All right, we both are in agreement there, except for our 5 seed. You have New Mexico State versus Vermont. I got UConn versus Vermont. Let's move over to the next team, University of Alabama. Not football related, but basketball related versus Rutgers or Notre Dame. I'm probably going to go with the Rutgers win there. I just think that Rutgers is one of those teams that I just like. But if I had to pick between these two, I think Alabama, even though they've been very inconsistent this year, after winning some good games, they even won against your Zags, Sean. I just see Alabama winning here. I don't think Rutgers or Notre Dame has the secret chutzpah or any sauce to get them to the next round. So I got to go with Alabama there. Who you going with?
I'm going with the upset, and for me,
Ooh.
Alabama has been absolutely terrible against average to bad teams. They really only play up to top competition, and so for me, it's just smelling like a team that, well, they have a bunch of really good quad one wins. They're going to choke here against the worst seed, and Rutgers for me is going to beat Notre Dame, and Rutgers is a team that I think nobody in the country wants to face. They're extremely hot. They were the first team in college basketball history to win 5 straight games against ranked teams while being unranked. And so for me, Rutgers is going to continue this hot streak. They're going to pull off the upset against Bama and move to the next round.
Okay. I like that. Got some freaky deaky in here from our good friend Mr. Benjamin. Let's move over to the next one. We got Texas Tech versus Montana State. This one to me is pretty easy. I think Texas Tech, they're one of the scarier teams in this tournament. I like the way that they play defense. They're one of those grinded out type of teams. I'll be very interested to see if the referees will allow that kind of style being played in the tournament. We all know Tommy Treason is your president now. Sean in there just chatting it up. Again, I think Texas Tech, the Red Raiders, man, I like what I'm seeing from them. Montana State, nice story that they got into the tournament, but ultimately I think that their kind of Cinderella story of getting into the tournament is over, and I got the Red Raiders winning that game. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, Tech's a really good defensive team, and they're actually not bad shooting from 3-point. They have some decent forwards and guards. I mean, offensively, definitely not their strong suit, but defensively they lock down, and I feel like really strong defensive teams with good size are typically a force in the tournament. Gonzaga lost to Texas Tech a couple years back when we had Tilly and a couple other really good NBA players. And so for me, Tech is a team that is hard to bet against when they have a good seed in the tournament, when they have a strong core. So I'll go with Tech too, just because, I don't think Montana State is really any type of threat to them. But it'll be interesting to see how they, match up against either Bama or Rutgers in the next round.
Exactly. And let's move on to the next one. I think this is another one that, has a lot of fans salivating at the mouth just because of the storyline of this one. We got Michigan State versus Davidson. The reason why a lot of people are doing that is because of the I can't remember the kid's name, but he used to go to Michigan State. Let me see if I can find it here. I believe it is. Let me see. Oh, it doesn't have it on here.
Foster Loyer.
Yes. Thank you, Sean. Foster Loyer was a former player for Michigan State under Tom Izzo, transferred over to Davidson, is having himself a type of season that a lot of teams are, jealous of. Obviously, they lost in the A-10 tournament against Richmond. That was a great game. If you guys didn't watch, amazing game. And, they have one of the most intriguing shooters, I should say, in Hyung Lee, a junior from Davidson, the 6'8", potentially, according to some draft experts from ESPN, they say that he could potentially be maybe not lottery, but an NBA draft pick at some point. I'm not sure which round. But what I do think that makes them good is that they move the ball. They're not a team that has it stick in one player's hands and has that player go and do something, right? They have a whole system going on. And one thing that I don't really like about the Big Ten basketball, Sean, and I don't know if you'll agree with me or not, these teams are teams to be like very overcoached, and they seem to not let the guys go. Like they seem to hold them to a rigid system that lets them just you can't take advantage of fast breaks. They kind of really slow it down, get sets going, get you kind of in this sort of defensive battle. But I just think that the movement of Davidson and the way that things are going in that, I have Davidson winning this game.
Yeah, Davidson's definitely the better offensive team, and they got a bunch of mini Currys on that team. I'm just going to read you, their 3-point shooting percentage, although it doesn't have, we don't know how many threes they're taking per game just off this glance, but Lawyer 44.5% from three, Lee 37.9, Brajkovic 40.7, Jones 42.5, Menenga 44%, and then Huffman 38%. Those are all their players who get significant minutes. So they're a lethal shooting team. And looking at Michigan State, I mean, they have I assume that they have to play good defense because they only have one player averaging double-digit points, and that's 11.4 points. That's kind of sad, and that's definitely something that can really hurt you come tournament time when you just have no one who can take over a game. So I'm going to go with Davidson as well.
Yeah, I think everyone loves Davidson from the A10. I think that coach has done a tremendous job building that program up. Obviously, it helped having Steph Curry on your team many years ago. It feels like just yesterday. It's just many years ago. Hang on. I'm going to read what Mr. Waltier had to say. Something we can all agree on. Can we get the picks that are in tune when Bernie makes a selection? If I had a little bit more time and didn't just take a nap before the stream, I would have been able to. But we're here now doing this. But we're going to move on to the next game. This one is another one as well. Duke versus CS Fullerton. Again, I think that this is no matchup. I know a lot of people have problems with Duke being the number 2 seed. I can agree with that. It seems that they've kind of faltered during this last month of the season. Obviously, losing that game against North Carolina was a huge one. Losing in the ACC tournament to Virginia Tech. I mean, they seem to be figured out defensively or like offensively how to counteract their moves and try to take away Paulo Banchero. Again, another young player that potentially a lot of people want to go against Chet Holmgren in the final, but it's going to have to happen in the Elite Eight. Or actually, no, when will it happen? Final? No, I think in the Elite Eight, yeah. Sweet 16? I'm not sure when that matchup would happen, but they would obviously be playing each other since they're in the same bracket. But I got to go with Duke here. Again, CS Fullerton, nice story, but I just don't think that Duke is going to be really doing anything too much this tournament time.
Yeah, I'll keep it simple and quick. I'm going to go with Duke as well. There's no real way they're going to get upset in this round. They're too physical, too talented. But I don't think Coach K has done that great of a job with this team. And we'll see how that plays on as we go over the later rounds.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Let us move over to the East now. I'm going to shift it over, I should say, Swift. I'm going to shift it over here so you guys can see it on your screen. We're going to talk Wright State versus Bryant against Arizona. This one to me is a no-brainer. I think Arizona is one of the hottest teams in the nation right now. Tommy Treason, as my friends and Sean would like to call him, just because he was a former assistant coach of Gonzaga, moved over to be the head coach there. We had Gilbert Arenas taking shots at him as well. But one thing that can't be denied is that Tommy Lloyd has done a great job with this Wildcats team, with the tremendous talent of Ben Matherin. The way that they've been playing the similar system, honestly, to the way Gonzaga plays when they have a traditional 2 big man system. And so I like what I'm seeing from them. I think, like I said, they're one of the hottest teams in the nation. I think Tommy Lloyd's going to help them get over this win, get his first tournament win, I should say, against Wright State versus Bryant, whatever one comes out of the tournament. I'm curious to watch that game and see what their style of play is, but I don't think it really matters. I think it is. I think it's Arizona.
Yeah, Tommy Treason has done a good job, but we knew he'd be a good head coach. He's supposed to be still at Gonzaga, waiting to take the reins from Mark Few when he retires. He just needs to get his natty. But obviously, we're gonna have to find a backup plan here because of the treason. But I have Arizona winning this as well. I mean, they're a really well coached team. You can see, how they run a similar offense to Gonzaga, and obviously, Mark Few's tutelage has paid off for Mr. Treason himself. So gonna have Arizona moving on this one.
Let's see here. And then let us move on to the next game. We got Seton Hall versus TCU. Again, this is going to be a very interesting matchup as well. Seton Hall, has done a pretty good job. They've done a really good job in the Big East tournament. I believe they're in the Big East. They have a senior guard, Jalen Roden, who's averaging 18.6 points a game. A type of guy that you could definitely see here kind of be a guy that you can carry on his back, a Seton Hall team. And TCU, I don't really know too much about TCU at this point. I think that Jamie Dixon. I'm trying to think who's been there for them. I don't really know too much about TCU. I don't know, Sean, if you have your information pulled up on TCU, but I think I'm going to go with Seton Hall here, just with the senior guard leadership.
Yeah, Seton Hall, they have a long history in the tournament of consecutive appearances. I was looking into TCU a bit. They're not very good from 3-point range, but they definitely have some really quality wins. But they haven't beaten a team that really makes me super impressed. They did beat Kansas once, but they also lost to Kansas 2 other times, and basically every other ranked game they have, that it seems like they lose. They're really inconsistent. I mean, they could go on a hot streak. They started out super, super hot in the season, except for a loss to Santa Clara. Shout out WCC. But I'll stick with the experience here and the fact that Seton Hall usually is a pretty good performer. And I'm going to have them win as well.
Perfect. We're moving on to the next game. University of Houston versus University of Alabama Birmingham. We all know that the University of Houston had that Final Four appearance. Obviously, they had so many great, talented players that went on to the NBA. What's crazy about this team, Sean, about the Houston team, is that they have won 140 games and losing just 29 in the last 5 seasons. So they have definitely improved each and every year. I like the way that this team has been playing. They're operating such an amazing and incredible team. But I think the University of Alabama, UAB, Birmingham, what I like about them is that they have a pretty good, I think his name is Jordan Jelly Walker. He's kind of the guy that's attempted more threes than any other player in this tournament and has made more, 115 threes out of 283. Obviously, great numbers there. Had a 42-point game in February. I mean, this kid is amazing. This kid has done a lot. And again, like I said, this tournament, sometimes it does take a kid like that to really get your team over the hump and to get your team really past the first round. This could be a potential, like I said, another 12-5 upset. And I'm going to go with the upset here. I'm going with UAB winning over Houston. Even though I do like Houston and there are the model consistency and you should never bet against them, I'm gonna be daring to be different. I'm gonna go with UAB winning that game.
Interesting. Okay. I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go with Houston simply because they're a really well-balanced team. They have 6 players who are scoring, 10 points or more, and then the 7th player is scoring like 9.7. So, it kind of reminds me of how Gonzaga usually is with, being able to move the ball around and get offense from really anyone you want. And so I'm going to go with Houston.
Yeah. Definitely, like I said, you can never bet against Houston. They're one of those teams, like I said, model of consistency these last 5 years, but I just want to be different this time. I'm going to be different. We'll see if it comes to bite me in the butt or
dare to be different,
or if we'll see if it helps me out in this thing. Let's move on to the next game. University of Illinois versus the University of Chattanooga. Chattanooga, obviously a mid-major of the South Conference. They won it this year with the 14-4 record. In the conference. I do like the way that this team plays. I love their guard number 13, David Jean Baptiste. This kid is awesome to watch. I've seen, I've actually kind of did my research on them and see what kind of team that they are. I like the style of play that they are considering doing. And I think that they're going to do a pretty good job. And this is going to be another upset alert here, and I'm going with the University of Chattanooga over Illinois. I know Illinois is a good team, but I think without Ayo Dosunmu from last year, I think that this team is trying to look for that guy to come back again. Another Big Ten school. I just think the Big Ten usually disappoints in the tournament, and so I'm just going to go with the University of Chattanooga there for a 12-13 matchup in the next round.
It's a big upset. I was looking at that too, but for differential's sake, I'm gonna have to go with Illinois. Just looking at Kofi Cockburn, I mean, he's averaging 21 a game, and they have some good shooters on the perimeter as well in their guards. They're not exactly the biggest team outside of Kofi, but he has enough size where they're able to kind of adjust to that, even though he's not necessarily the best player defensively.
Yeah.
There is a chance they could get out rebounded or dominated on the glass, and that could cause them to lose. But I'm going to go with Illinois. I think that they're kind of a safe bet just for this first round.
All right, let's move on to the next game. We, of course, have Colorado State versus Michigan. Michigan obviously dealing without, or they did not have their coach, Juwan Howard, for the rest of the season after he got suspended from that Wisconsin game. From here on out, he's now back with the team, and they're gonna have to find out, how they're gonna get back to a top appearance again. It's been a while. This team has pretty much underperformed too, so it's kind of disappointing to see that they underperformed this season, but it's no surprise when you're replacing some great guards, some great players. But what I do like about Colorado State is that they are one of the better teams in the Mountain West. They have a guy, David Roddy, who is basically built like a tight end. I don't know if you've seen pictures of him, Sean, but this kid, like I said, is built. He should be playing NFL football, but is playing basketball again, averaging 19.4 points, 7.6 rebounds in the season. And I do like their guard, Isaiah Stevens, as well. I got to go with Colorado State here. No, Michigan has a lot of history in this tournament, but I think Colorado State is just too good, and I think this is going to be one of the Mountain West teams that does pretty well in this tournament. So I got Colorado State winning this game.
Yeah, I saw someone who I think works for The Athletic who had Colorado State in their Final Four. And so I'm going to go ahead and ride with that guy. Don't know anything about him, but I really don't like Michigan basketball. I've just grown to dislike them in football too, everything about them. So I'm going to go with Colorado State. I don't know too much about them, but from what I can tell from reading about them is that they have some good shooters and they have good ball movement. And again, as you said, David Roddy has just been a monster, and they have a lot of guys who are, averaging over 1 steal a game. And so I'll go with that. They have some pretty good free throw shooters too. So if it comes down to needing to make some buckets, at the line down the stretch, they're going to be consistent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and let's move on to the next game. Tennessee versus, I believe this is Longview State, if I'm not mistaken.
Longwood, baby.
Longwood, excuse me. Longwood. All right. Tennessee versus Longwood. I think for me, this is an easy pick. I got to pick Tennessee. They have some momentum going in with them. Obviously with winning the SEC tournament since 1979. That's an amazing stat to kind of read that they've been, they've had a lot of, pretty disappointing teams these last couple of years. But I think the way that the Volunteer have been playing this year, I see them kind of continuing this run from the SEC tournament onto the NCAA March Madness tournament. I like the way that they play. They defensively are one of the better teams in this tournament. I don't know too much about Longwood, but I know enough for Tennessee that I like what I'm seeing from them. So I'm going to go with Tennessee in the next round.
I'm gonna have to pick the upset here for the memes. I think
all right.
Longwood, this is like their first NCAA tournament appearance, I'm pretty sure. And so I'm going to go with the underdog. And I know Tennessee's been like the hottest team in the country, and they debatably should have had a 2 seed over like Duke or, someone else. So I'm going to go with Longwood for the memes, because how can you root against them?
It's actually funny about Longwood. I guess their coach had a interesting start. He was a big money maker as a lawyer turned oil company executive. And then ended up just coaching a AAU team, and then basically got called on from the staff from one of his former, I guess he played with somebody and was like, yo, you should come to my staff. And then he ended up coaching at Longwood.
Interesting. Leveraging that oil money.
That oil money. Got to leverage that
How can you root against them? I mean, so Longwood's essentially like Man City and Chelsea.
Yeah, exactly. You know how they operate there at Longwood. They're just they're doing their thing. But let's move on to the next game. We, of course, got Loyola Chicago versus Ohio State. Ohio State. There's not a lot to say about Ohio State. I think they're probably one of the most disappointing teams, I would say, in the tournament. I've been I know they have one of the top prospects in that tournament. Let me look up his name really quick. Let's see, where is his name? I believe it is. Of course, they're not going to show me here. Sean, I don't know if you have his name, but there is an Ohio State prospect. Let me look this kid up really quick, because I think this kid is Obviously, one of the better players in the tournament. A lot of people are interested in it. Let's see here.
Is it EJ Liddell?
EJ Liddell. EJ Liddell, one of the top prospects in this tournament. I think that when it comes to Ohio State, I always pick them to go far in my tournament bracket. And it's kind of one of those fool me once, shame on me. Fooled can't get fooled again. But
every year,
they've just been disappointing, man. Like I've always wanted to see like what they were able to do. But again, I just think the way that Loyola Chicago has been playing these last couple of years, continuing that sort of tradition of building a powerhouse there in their conference. I think that this to me is just going to be one of those things that Sister Jean is going to get another. God damn it, Sean. God damn it. The one is that Sister Jean and the Loyola Chicago Huskies, I believe that they are. I just think that they are, they won the Missouri Valley tournament again. They're no longer coached by the coach that kind of carried them to the tournament. But I think the rookie coach has done an amazing job there at Loyola Chicago. And again, can I trust Ohio State to win this game? I personally, this is going to be tough because I do like Liddell as a player. Obviously didn't know his name, but I just think that he's one of those kids that you can kind of see that his talent kind of outshines everybody. But is it enough to carry the Ohio State Buckeyes to the next round? I'm going to go with the... This one's tough.
It's a tough one.
But I have to be a man of my conviction. You know what? I'm going to be looking like a fool, but let's go with Ohio State. We're going with Ohio State here. I think
Absolute
Liddell...
fool.
I think Liddell's going to be doing it. Who do you got? I'm assuming you got Loyola Chicago.
I got Sister Jean. She looks like Emperor Palpatine. She's coming back for a vengeance. She's bringing in the Star Destroyers. She's ready to go on a tear. She's 102 years old. They're gonna wheel her in. She's just gonna be sitting there on the sideline drooling, and they're gonna play for her. They're making another run.
Damn. Yeah. To kind of go on that for Loyola Chicago again. Like I said, they're not coached by the same coach that made a really far tournament run the last couple of years. But they have continuously built the success off of that coach into this kind of and into the future that they've kind of carried for themselves. And you just can't ignore Loyola Chicago anymore as a kind of like I wouldn't say a powerhouse, but they're close to where they're supposed to be here. They're close to where they're supposed to be in terms of, one of these lower conferences, like making a huge kind of name for themselves. Again, is it going to be what Gonzaga did for the WCC? Probably not, but I do like the fact that they have kind of carried the mantle for the Missouri Valley tournament, and I just kind of like with the way that they play. So, but again, I'm going to look like the fool come, I don't know when this game is. Let me double check when this game is. I believe it's on the 18th at 12:15 p.m. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see if I'm right or if I'm wrong, but it will be a fun one. Next one we have, Sean, is, of course, Villanova versus Delaware. I think this is easy. One team has Jay Wright. The other one doesn't. The other one has Gillespie.
Nova.
Going Nova. Doesn't. Gotta go Nova. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that one.
Yep.
Let's see here. Let's move over to the East region. East region, of course, led by Baylor as the number 1 seed. Baylor losing a lot of their starters. You got to give them kudos and credit to bring, I would say, a new starting 5, still become the number 1 seed. No,
you don't. You don't gotta.
I don't gotta.
No bitterness here.
No bitterness here. I gotta go with Baylor here. I just don't see Baylor losing in the first round. I think their coach is too good. And I just don't think that this team that they're playing is going to be any much of a challenge.
Yeah, I'm going to go Baylor as well.
Yeah,
so.
Norfolk State, sorry, you just got to go home. Another interesting matchup here, University of North Carolina versus Marquette. Again, similar to Memphis, I would say, for the University of North Carolina, a team about a month or two ago that you would have said, this team has no shot of making the tournament. Obviously, without Roy Williams there now, they've kind of been under a new head coach. Didn't really play the best, but had since the last month, they've been playing a lot better. They've been making themselves a name for themselves, and even though they lost kind of in the ACC tournament, they're a team to be reckoned with this time. And then of course you have Marquette, coached by Shaka Smart. Obviously started his tenure at VCU, has continuously done a good job of building up teams and building up programs wherever he's gone. I believe he had some NCAA violations at Texas, and I think that's why he had to go. And they just kind of said, you can either stay here or you can go start a new team and start fresh. He chose to start fresh, and I'm going to go with Shaka Smart because he finds a way to win these games. I'm going to go with Marquette over the upset over UNC. If you can even call it an upset. I don't know if a 9/8 is an upset, really. But
yeah, this is a game I've been going back and forth on. It's tough because sorry, Tar Heel Nation, I don't like North Carolina, and I actually do really like Marquette. But I feel like UNC's been playing really well. At least, pulling that upset over Duke in their last game, like it shows that, they can really probably compete with, any team if they're on their game. So I'm going to go with UNC in this one.
UNC, okay. We got Baylor, UNC. I got Baylor, Marquette. We'll see which one comes out on top. Let us know in the comment section down below or on Twitter at The Charge Streams if you want to let us know who you think is going to win this game. Moving on to the next game. This is, of course, one of Sean's favorite teams. St. Mary's, part of the same WCC conference. Going against either the winner of Wyoming or University of Indiana that's going to be played tonight. To me, this is another team. This is another 5-12 upset that could potentially happen. Maybe Sean will disagree with me on that, but I like Wyoming. I think Wyoming's a good team. Obviously, they had a rough start at the end there. Or not a rough start. They had a rough ending to kind of end their season. I like the way that the team plays, though. They play with such tenacity. They play with some energy that I like. But you can't go wrong with St. Mary's because this is probably one of St. Mary's better teams in a while. The Gales better defensively. I think that this is going to be one of these teams as well that could potentially make a big run. I know that there's been a lot of talk about St. Mary's in that sense, especially because of this bracket, the side that they're on. I think there's a lot of winnable games on this side. But if I had to pick somebody, I'm going to go with the upset here, Sean. I'm going to go with Wyoming winning this game. I think I like St. Mary's. And I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on St. Mary's since you have the more history with them in terms of like knowing who they are and what team that they can be.
Yeah. St. Mary's is a team that I think can almost beat any team, but they can also lose to almost any team. It's really confusing. But they're a team if they can control the tempo, which is, slowing down the game and play really physical in the paint. And get some good kickouts for three. They can beat almost any team like they did to Gonzaga. They really controlled it. And so I'm gonna go with St. Mary's in this.
Okay.
They have a lot of hustle players. They play the game the right way. Yeah, exactly, like Hunter Renfro. And so I'm gonna go with St. Mary's in this. I'm gonna stick with WCC. I'm gonna keep some WCC pride. I think we're a really underrated conference, and I do hope they go on a run.
Yeah. Moving on to the next game. Another team that Sean probably does not like, UCLA versus, I believe this is Akron. This one to me is a very interesting one as well. Akron seems to me like a team that could potentially make an upset here. I haven't been really liking, personally, I haven't been liking the way that UCLA has been playing the last couple of games. Obviously, they got to the Pac-12 championship game, so you can't say anything negative about them. But the one thing that UCLA has that Akron doesn't, from what I'm seeing, is just the fact that UCLA is returning a lot of their starters. They're returning a lot of guys. Johnny Juzing's there, Jaime Jaquez, Bernard. You also have, I can't remember what the point guard's name is for that team. Sean, I don't know if you have his name at all. I'm trying to see if they have here. UCLA, let's see here. Tiger Campbell. There you go. Tiger Campbell, another great guard for UCLA. One of the most underrated. I would say one of the underrated guards in this tournament. I think just because of the hair, a lot of people overlook him. They're just like, oh, he's just a one of those guys that has the accessories, those guys at the LA Fitness or YMCA that just has the accessories, like, that dude can't really play. Usually guys that have a lot of accessories can't really play, but he's a guy, has that speed, has that tenacity. I like the way that UCLA at times have played. Obviously, I did not like them in the Pac-12 championship game. They don't have the momentum going for them, but it's hard to root against. It's hard to pick against them when they have a lot of guys returning. So I'm going to go with UCLA winning that game. Again, they're in a perfect position. Like I said, this side of the bracket, the East side, I think is one of the easier ones. And I could definitely see like UCLA making it out of the side of the bracket.
Yeah, if UCLA, can pull it together, because I mean they really weren't that great last year, and then they were a completely new team when the tournament started, and so maybe they can, find some of that momentum again. I definitely think they're going to win this game against Akron. UCLA is super undersized. Their tallest player that gets minutes is 6'8". So I think if they do have to face a team that's physical and has really good size, because they've been in such a shooting slump, especially Hawkes, he is just taken a massive step back this year. But I'm still going to pick UCLA to win this one, just simply because the matchup is good for them. But we'll see, how it looks for the next round. But I don't know if they're going to be able to pull off some miracle run where suddenly they look like a top team in the country again.
Yeah, we'll see what happens for UCLA. Again, like I said, this side of the tournament, this side of the bracket, very easy. I could see them potentially pulling off some sort of miracle run, so we'll see what happens there. Let's move on to the next one, Texas versus Virginia Tech. We all know the story of Virginia Tech right now. One of the surprising teams, I would say, leading up to the tournament. Obviously, winning the ACC tournament. A lot of people picked Duke, obviously. They didn't think that Virginia Tech, they thought probably going to lose in the first or second round. But, credits to them. They did a great job in the tournament. They were able to dismantle Duke, which not a lot of teams, maybe not a lot of teams, but, a caliber of Virginia Tech, it's an amazing defeat when it comes to that. And Texas, again, I think is another great school. I think you guys played against them, and I believe you beat them, if I'm not mistaken, right, Sean Gonzaga?
Beat them by almost 20.
Yeah, they're obviously a different team now. They have a lot of transfers. This is, I can't remember where the head coach was for Texas. I think he was at Texas Tech, if I'm not mistaken, last year or the year before that. And now he's joined Texas, obviously with Texas being one of the bigger schools in the nation in terms of notoriety and brand. Not so much play these last couple of years, but brand-wise, I think that they're one of the most interesting teams. And I got to go with Texas. I think the Virginia Tech story is nice, and obviously Hunter Couture, dropping 31 against Duke was a great story, but I think their story ends here, and I got Texas winning this game.
Texas is one of those teams that I don't trust at all in the tournament. And I've seen them play absolutely terrible. And I'm going to go with Virginia Tech because I watched one of their games recently and they looked really good. And so for me, Texas to me is exactly like Ohio State, one of those teams that, fool me once. And I have consistently picked against them and consistently been right. And so I think Texas is the first round exit.
Okay. We gotta make a where Sean was right button on here in this channel. Get that going here for us. Let's move on to the next round. Purdue versus Yale. Ivy versus Yale. Purdue is one of those teams. I love the way that they play. I think they have an amazing team. I think that this is a team that's really balanced. Again, another Big Ten team. I believe Big Ten had like 9 teams in this tournament. So again, no excuses for the Big Ten not to be at least make it far in the tournament. The way how many teams that they got, but Purdue again has Ivy. They have the 2 big men, one of the best passing big men, one of the best kind of inside the paint big men. It's hard to pick against them. Obviously, we go against Yale. Yale obviously didn't play last year in any tournament at all. They kind of canceled their season. They beat Princeton, who I think Princeton was the predicted winner of this game. Beat them by I believe 2 points to win the bid. And now Princeton's playing in the NIT. They obviously have a good guard in this tournament, but I think it's going to be too much for Yale to overcome. And I got Purdue winning this game. I just think it's too. I just think Yale just needs another piece or two for any Ivy League team to really make a huge push in this tournament.
Yeah, we got a Ivy versus Ivy League, Purdue versus the Deep State. I think Purdue is going to win this one. I can see Ivy. To me, he's like a slightly, less athletic Ja Morant, but he reminds me of like a lot of good attributes of Ja and also De'Aaron Fox. And I think he's going to absolutely snap in the tournament. And so I think he could help Purdue go on a run here. So I'm going to take Purdue.
All right, let's move on to the next game. We got Murray State versus University of San Francisco. Sean, I'll let you talk about University of San Francisco. What can you let us know about them?
Yeah, so the Dons, they've been a big surprise. I mean, following WCC, we knew they were going to be good this year because they returned a lot of players. But I think a lot of people, who obviously don't follow the WCC, kind of overlook them. They've got some really good shooters in their lineup who get significant minutes. They have decent size and they just play really solid basketball and really good defense. Their guards are really good on-ball defenders, get lots of steals. And so, I think there's a good chance that they can go on a run. They have Khalil Shabazz, and he's their guard. He's really small, but he's actually from Seattle. But he can take over a game, but he can also really shoot them out of a game. When they're getting desperate, he'll start chucking up a lot of shots. But I do think that they have a chance to pull the upset here, and so I'm going to go with the Dons. I'm going to stick with WCC.
All right, he's going with the Elite Dons. You get me? Elite Dons there for University of San Francisco. I think one thing we got to give credit to for Murray State again. Obviously, they had Ja Morant coming out of that school, and that's a huge factor as to kind of their success. But you also have to give it up to this team and this program. Again, when 30-2, one against Memphis, one against Chattanooga, again, teams that are in the tournament right now. So they have some, I would say, momentum going their way with beating those two teams. Again, they have a big man in KJ Williams, averaging 18.2 points, 8.6 rebounds. And then they also have Tevin Brown with 16.9 points, 3 assists, and 5.5 rebounds. Again, this team, I think, has been disrespected in terms of the ratings. I thought they were a 6 seed, in my opinion. They are that good. And I think Murray State, I got them winning this game, man. I think Murray State is going to be one of those teams that, from the Ohio Valley Conference, I could see them definitely improving to a point where they are a consistent tournament player, and I can see them getting those at least maybe top 5 seeds. I like the way that they play. Again, trying to make a household name for themselves. I got Murray State in that game.
Yeah, I was just pulling up Murray State stats, and all 5 of their starters average over 1 steal a game, which is really impressive.
Very impressive indeed. Let us move over to the next game we have. Of course, the University of Kentucky. Coach Calipari coaching this team. This is probably their best performance where they beat Texas and Kansas, number 1 seed in Kansas, and obviously Tennessee being a number 2 seed. The question is, can they continue this sort of momentum going for themselves? Didn't really make it. They hadn't had a disappointing SEC tournament. Obviously, did not make it to the final. The final was Texas A&M and Tennessee. I don't know what to make of Coach Calipari teams. He obviously won the team in 2012, where they were just unstoppable. They had the best players in the nation at the time. I'm just not really sure about this team in terms of can they play together as a unit in time to really get themselves going. They're obviously going to win this game against St. Peter's, but I'm not so sure what their tournament future holds moving forward. Again, Kentucky can always make a run, but they're one of those teams that I don't know if I trust them in the biggest moments and the biggest stage.
Yeah, it's fair. I think Kentucky has proven over the years that they always have a lot of talent, but I don't think Calipari is necessarily the best system coach. It's more of a place to go just to display your talents to get to the league versus running a winning offense. So I'll go Kentucky as well, but I have the same concerns.
Yeah. Like I said, they're not going to lose this game against the 15 St. Peter's. As much as I like St. Peter's, I don't think that they're losing that game. It's going to be too hard for them to lose that. Let us move over to the Kansas, Texas Southern versus Texas EC. For you guys that want to know, I believe Texas Southern just won this game, if I'm not mistaken. I could take a look in just a second. I believe that they won. this game, if I'm not mistaken. Let's double check here. Let's see here. Yep, they
Yeah,
just
it looks
won.
like it's about to be over.
Yeah, Texas Southern won 76-67. So we officially have their matchup. The Islanders of Texas A&M CC are officially out, and Texas Southern is officially in, going against Kansas. And I think that they're going to meet their fate this coming, I believe, Thursdays when they play, if I'm not mistaken. And they're just going to lose. I got Kansas winning. There's no way that Kansas will lose this game. I think Kansas right now is probably one of the hotter teams. Maybe not the hottest team, but they are definitely one of the hottest teams coming in here. So I just think that they're looking pretty good this time around.
I'm gonna go Kansas as well. I don't think there's really an explanation needed.
Yeah. And we'll see what happens in terms of like what's going to go on for the next round. We got Creighton versus San Diego State. Again, San Diego State, another one of those Mountain West teams that defensively plays their hearts out. And then, of course, got Creighton, who, I think that they are, they're one of those teams. Like I could see them definitely winning this game. But only time will tell. Again, the only thing I have about Creighton is that, of course, this is, Doug McDermott's best coaching job, according to some sources that he has had in the last couple of years. They obviously lost to Nemhard. They lost to Ryan Nemhard, but still made the tournament. Kind of had the worst offensive team in 12 years on the job. They have a sophomore in Ryan Callenbrenner, named Big East Defensive Player of the Year, averaging 17 points, 9 rebounds, 2.4 blocks. And I just think that this is a dangerous Creighton team, and I'm going to go with Creighton here over San Diego State.
I'm gonna go the opposite. I'm gonna go San Diego State. One, it's my mom's alma mater, so I gotta support. But also, San Diego State is really good defensively, and as you mentioned, they lost Ryan Nemhard to a wrist injury, and that's Andrew Nemhard of Gonzaga's little brother. And so I think they're ill prepared for the tournament. I still think it's impressive that they made it without him, but I think that they're going to be a first round exit.
Story ends there for them, huh? Let's see here. Let's move on to the next one. We got, of course, Iowa versus the Richmond Spiders. Obviously, the Richmond Spiders won the A10 championship against Davidson. One of the surprising teams, they haven't made the tournament in the last, I would say 12 years, 11 years. And they finally have gotten there. But they run into an Iowa team that is probably one of the hotter teams coming in here. I believe that they won the Big 12 championship. They have Fran McCaffrey as their head coach. They've done a great job. I think they have the brothers as well. They had Jordan Bannon trying to make a deep run. It feels like this article goes on to say that he's 36 years old. He's a super senior, 6-year senior. Obviously, the more years of experience that you can have, the better. They have Keegan Murray as well. A great player. I think this Iowa team is dangerous. I think that this is, again, another side of the conference that is always that it can be just as winnable as the other side. I think the East and the Midwest are one of the easier regions. And I got to go with Iowa. I think Iowa's got the talent. As much as I'd like Richmond and the way that they play, I think they're a team that just, caught Davidson on a bad night. And when you play this team so many times in the same tournament, you're bound to beat them at some point. And so I think the journey ends for the Spiders here, and Iowa destroys the Spiders.
Interesting. So you think they destroy them?
Yeah. Maybe
Okay.
not destroy them. I think it's going to be a 12-point game. I don't know if that's destroying, but
yeah.
Big win.
Richmond, I don't know. One thing I've learned is that never to bet against, a team that was bad in conference play and then just went on a miracle run in the tournament. Look at Oregon State last year. I think they made the Elite Eight. Maybe it was Sweet 16, but they just caught fire, even though I think they were last or second to last in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
I kind of feel the same way with Richmond. Richmond has a player, Jacob Gilliard, who's averaging over 3 steals a game. That's just an absurd number. And so, to me, I think they're well balanced enough. I watch their games. They have good bigs, and Iowa also has good bigs, so it'll be a nice matchup. But I think that Richmond actually has size to compete with them and hopefully limit their main offensive player. I think he's averaging 23 points a game or something really high. But I'm going to go with Richmond.
Richmond, okay. Going with the Spiders. Spiders over Iowa. Okay. Moving on to the next game, we have Providence versus South Dakota State. This one, to me, you got South Dakota State being another mid-major that has won 21 straight games in the Summit League. Obviously not the the most competitive league in the world, but they are definitely a team that you could look at and just say, okay, this team is definitely a team that could definitely make a big run. Hitting 3-point accuracy of 44.2% as a team. Obviously, you're going to need that in the tournament. That we've shown that statistically, teams that shoot really good threes in the tournament have gone on to be in the Final Four and the championship along with that. But they're also going to face another team in Providence who I really like, another Big East team, 25-5 and won the Big East tournament. They're 11-2 in games decided by 5 points or fewer. Again, one of the better teams. Ken Palm ranking them one of the luckiest team in the division this season. I like this team. I think Providence has a chance to win. I'm gonna have some Big East biased, and I got Providence winning this game. Even though I do like South Dakota State, Providence to me is going to be the winner here.
Yeah, I think just looking at Providence's, kind of track record this season, they ended their season getting blown out by like 30 in the conference tournament. But they have 2 games against Villanova, both which they lost, but it was only by a combined 7 points, and they've beaten multiple ranked teams this year. I think Providence is actually a pretty good team, and I think they could go on a run here. So I'm going to go with Providence.
All right, moving on to the next round, we got LSU versus Iowa State. Obviously, this is a tale of 2 different stories, right? We got LSU, their coach Wade, obviously getting fired. I think that they are a team that, is kind of, when you don't have your coach, I think, when it comes to not having your coach Will Wade, I think you can agree, Sean, it's definitely not a great environment when you lose your coach and you have to kind of decide, as an assistant coach or like an interim coach, like the decisions that you make, because, you don't really know this team that well. Obviously, if you're an assistant coach coaching them, it's a lot different. You have to play a different dynamic, a different role than being a head coach. But then you also got Iowa State, who, again, they're a team that is kind of limping into here to the tournament as an 11 seed. I don't know if I like them as much as a lot of people do. I know a lot of people have picked this as like the game that should be a winner for Iowa State, because when you're without your head coach, it's not going to be you obviously feel like you're not really have the momentum there. But the LSU Tigers have Xavier Pinson, who's a very good guard. I think that he's got a lot of great guard play in him. And I got LSU winning this game, man. I think that they're going to win this game just for the sake of that pride of, okay, our coach got fired, but we're going to continue it on. One thing to note, Sean, before you go, this guy has been fired twice now for the same violations at both of his tenures as coaches. I can't remember where else he coached at, but he also got fired for the same violation as well. This has got to be a warning sign to teams, like, stay away from this guy.
Definitely. And I think LSU is another one of those teams that you can't really trust. I don't know. To LSU, they sometimes look really good, but they've been inconsistent, especially in the tournament. I think it was maybe last year they were ranked a lot higher than that, and they were a really early exit. Iowa State has been a team that's been consistent in the tournament, at least as far as appearances go. But they've been on a really kind of nasty losing streak against tougher teams. So I'm going to go with LSU also.
All right. Let's move on to the next game. Wisconsin, the Honey Badgers versus Colgate, the Red Raiders of Colgate. Colgate, obviously being a mid-major, winning in the Patriot League. They've won the last 19 of their 20 games. I love the way that they offensively play the game, stealing some stuff from them in terms of my coaching style. But in terms of Wisconsin, a team that I believe has been unlucky this past couple of years. They are a team that is ranked 34th in KenPom, which is one of the better ranking systems that a lot of people use in order to track who is the better college team throughout this whole season, throughout the whole year. I do like Wisconsin. I think Johnny Davis is going to be the guy to kind of lead them to it. Again, Wisconsin, one of those teams, again, that gets pretty far, but then kind of falls short at the end. I got to go with Wisconsin here. As much as I like Colgate and the way that they play, I just think that Wisconsin has too much firepower on their hand to really lose this game. Again, I talked about it a numerous amount of times, Sean. The Big Ten has so many teams. There is no excuse this year for the Big Ten not to make the Final Four. But they've been disappointing last couple years, and I kind of want to see Wisconsin get that stigma of the Big Ten off their back and finally get into further along the conference and further along in the tournament. So I got Wisconsin winning that game against Colgate.
Yeah, Wisconsin's been a team this year that's been pulling out a lot of like close wins. I don't think offensively they're super impressive. I feel like they can go really cold. And they did win the Big Ten, but to me, I don't know what it is. I just can't feel super confident in them. And Colgate's a team that I've been hearing a lot about, especially like as a potential upset. And to me, I don't know. Wisconsin to me just doesn't pass the eye test as a team that's going to be able to go on a run here. And so I'm actually liking the 14-3 upset here for Colgate.
Okay, you're going with Colgate. Okay. I like it. I like when we disagree with some stuff. It makes for great content. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens there. Again, like I said, I love some of their offensive sets that they run. They run a lot of burn cuts, at least from the time that I've watched. I don't know if they've had a new coach since then, but they're always a fun team to watch, and they've made the college tournament these last couple of years. So definitely a fun team to kind of monitor and see what is going on with them. Next game we have is USC, the Trojans versus Miami. Obviously, the Trojans made a huge run last year. A lot of people did not expect that. Maybe USC fans did, but I know a lot of us in America did not. They're going to be facing the Miami Hurricanes, who went on an 11-2 win streak from December 1st to January 26th. Obviously, that's a couple of months back, but they have also kind of lost some games that they shouldn't have, and they're kind of stuck in the middle right now. I think that the momentum is kind of neutral when it comes to Miami. But what I do like about them is that they have beaten Duke, they've beaten North Carolina, they've beaten Virginia Tech. The only thing that is going to be different about them is that they are they're kind of a 5-out offense type of team. They don't really have a lot of size on them. But I think that the Miami gets the win here against USC. I think that they are going to pull off a win against the Mobley brother at USC. Again, USC, I think they were third, I believe, in the Pac-12. But I'm not really seeing anything that oozes confidence, I should say, of USC, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, so I know I attacked the Pac-12 a lot and like to say, WCC is better than the Pac-12, which I think they are, but I think both those conferences on a national stage are really slept on. And just looking at, what happened last year where Pac-12 teams were just dominating in the tournament. We're only 1 year removed, and yes, they don't have Evan Mobley anymore, but they still have his brother Isaiah Mobley, and they have so much size on that USC team that I think it's going to be really tough for Miami, a team that needs to be high volume and scoring. And so I'm actually going to go with USC, and I think Pac-12 again is going to keep up the theme of being able to pull out some wins in this one and done tournament. So.
Alrighty, let's look at the next team. We got University of Auburn versus Jacksonville State. I want to say this really quick, Sean. I'm really disappointed in the NCAA for not allowing Bellarmine to play. I think the Bellarmine Knights are one of the better teams. Watching their offense play, having the coach that they're obviously going from Division II to Division I. You have to wait 4 years before you play any tournament, even NIT, which is so dumb. But I do like. And what sucks also too is that Jacksonville, the team that obviously they play in the same conference, Jacksonville got screwed over as the team that played in that tournament. They lose because Jacksonville, they just won. I'm not sure why the reason that is. I think they're the regular season champs for Jacksonville State, so they get the bid instead of Jacksonville. But it is what it is. I think Bellarmine should be in there. I like the way that they play, but nevertheless, they're going to play Auburn. Jabari Smith. Auburn has been very inconsistent these last couple of months. But at the same time, I do like what I'm seeing from Auburn enough, at least in this first round. I think that they have a lot of talent, but they are also a team that kind of concerns me going further into the tournament. But I think for this round, you got to go with Auburn.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this could be a surprise. Auburn is just one of the worst 3-point shooting teams I've ever seen. I've watched them at least like 4 or 5 games, and they won like half of them. But I know they were a really good team all year long, and they took first in the SEC. But I think there is such importance when like the lights are on and it's
Mhm.
the national stage that you need to be able to hit threes, and they just do not have that capability. And I actually really like the size of Jacksonville State. I was looking at all their numbers and stuff, and I'm going to go with the 15-2 upset. I'm going to keep it interesting. I'm going to take Jacksonville State over Auburn.
Oh, okay. Jacksonville State over Auburn. Okay, you heard it here first, everybody. Sean, expert, analyst, Jacksonville State.
Auburn's either losing first round or they're going to the Final Four.
Oh, okay, I like it. Let's kind of go back up to the West, Sean, and we'll go all the way until the I should say the I believe it would be the Elite Eight. Let's
Yeah,
go
one more
with
thing. Auburn has a super easy side of the bracket, so I mean they could definitely do something, but I think it's all up in the air. I think any of these teams could make a run there.
yeah. And that's the other thing too. Before we get going in this bracket, I think that this is probably one of the most interesting seasons in the NBA or in the NCAA. I think that is, especially with the number one teams losing as many times as they have this season, there isn't like that clear cut, like, okay, this person or this team is going to be carrying us or carrying to the future. And so I'm excited to see what goes on in this tournament. We already had some craziness in the last one, but let's move on to the West. I got Gonzaga over Memphis. I think this is actually going to be a really close game, Sean. I think this is going to come down to at least a 2-point game, even 4-point. I should say a 4-point game, just to be safe. Just because of the athleticism of Jalen Duren and their guard play and Penny Hardaway. But I think Gonzaga squeaks by because they have just too much talent to not squeak by. But I think it's going to be a competitive game the most.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Gonzaga, obviously, but I don't know. Memphis to me is they have, all this athleticism and talent, and they're really strong. And that's, athleticism and strength, like just a physically strong team has been Gonzaga's weakness. But I also think one thing that separates Memphis from the rest of the pack, I know they've had a really good end of the season, is that they're not super disciplined. And I think that's a huge downfall when you play against Gonzaga. You need to be physical against them, but you also need to be disciplined and, be able to manage the clock and slow the game down. And I don't think that's the way that Memphis is going to want to play ball.
Okay. I like that. Moving on to the next game, UConn versus the University of Vermont. I got the Huskies here. I think the Huskies can make kind of a Sweet 16 run. Again, this is a team that a lot of people don't really know about the Huskies. They're kind of under the radar as far as the number 5 seeds are concerned. And I just think that they have the ability to do that. Again, the University of Vermont, great story, but I think UConn takes this, and it's got Gonzaga versus UConn in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, so in my bracket, I mean, I have it for, Vermont versus New Mexico State, and I'm gonna have Vermont go ahead. I think Vermont still beats UConn if they face UConn. I think Vermont's too good with their guard play and 3-point shooting. And I think they're just one of those teams that's built for a tournament run under kind of the bright lights. And for me, UConn, I don't fully trust them.
Okay. Next game, we got Alabama versus Texas Tech, the Red Raiders. I got to go with the Red Raiders here. I think Alabama, too inconsistent this season for me to pick them, even though they beat Gonzaga before, even though they have some quality wins under their belt. I just don't trust Alabama in terms of the way that they've played. Again, momentum for me, I feel like, is everything. I know that some people say, when you go to the tournament, it's like a fresh start. Everybody's kind of, it doesn't really matter as much. But I think that you're going to see here that the Red Raiders are going to win this game over Alabama.
Yeah, and so for me on my side, I had it'd be Rutgers versus Texas Tech. Praying that Rutgers gets into the tournament doesn't screw me over here. But for me, I don't know. I really like Rutgers' momentum, although Texas Tech is just such a good defensive team and super big. They gave Gonzaga a decent fight. We still beat them, I think, by like 14. But they pulled off wins against Baylor. They pulled off wins against Texas, Kansas. So I want to go with Texas Tech, but I'm going to go with Rutgers. I think Rutgers, they've proven it, winning against 5 ranked teams in a row. I think they're going to get on a hot streak, and I think they're going to surprise a ton of people in the tournament.
Okay. Next game, next round, Davidson versus Duke. This is where I have upset of the year. I got Davidson over Duke, Sean. I think Duke is a team that plays like a bunch of AAU teammates that have not played together on the same AAU team before, and I just think that they don't have that cohesion. And in Coach K's last year, I don't think Coach K really has the patience to kind of deal with that and kind of create that sort of atmosphere in terms of creating a team unity type of deal. And so I got to go with Davidson over Duke in one of the bigger upsets of the year. I think Davidson plays the game the right way. They move the ball, Hunter Renfro style. They, to me, are one of those teams I could see definitely making a huge upset. And so I got Davidson over Duke.
That's a good pick. I mean, if Davidson is just splashing threes, they can definitely beat them. But I think Duke is going to dominate on the boards. I think they'll be dominating, just inside the paint with Williams. I don't think Banchero is the catalyst of that team. I think it's Williams, and I think Williams, when he played against Gonzaga, he just got all of our bigs in foul trouble, dominated the game, just out rebounded us on the glass because he's just so strong. So I think if he's playing, continuously well like he has been all year, he's been a huge surprise for them, especially on the offensive end. I think Duke's going to just dominate in the paint, slow the game down against Davidson's 3-point shooting, and I think Duke's going to move on.
All right. And let's kind of pick the Elite Eight here. Gonzaga, UConn. I think this is obvious. Gonzaga going to win this one. I don't think that there's any ifs, ands, or buts. UConn, will be a good storyline, but ultimately, I think the Bulldog will be the superior dog in this fight.
Yeah, but it's going to be Gonzaga versus Vermont, and Gonzaga is going to win. They're probably going to win by like 20.
Ooh, okay. Gonzaga versus Vermont next round. TCU versus Davidson. I think this is where the Davidson storyline ends. I think Texas Tech's defense is going to be too good. And it's going to be probably one of the better matchups of the tournament. Gonzaga versus Texas Tech. I think this is going to be an Elite Eight matchup. Or is this Final Four? No, this is not Final Four.
Elite Eight.
Elite Eight. This is going to be one of the better Elite Eight games in the country, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have it a Duke versus Gonzaga rematch. I think.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's where Rutgers their miracle run is gonna end. Duke has a lot of talent, although I don't like Coach K, and I don't think he's done a great job coaching them. I think we're gonna see a Duke Gonzaga rematch. It's gonna come down to the end, but Gonzaga is gonna pull it out this time. We played terrible against them last time, and they only beat us by 3. I think we'll do a better job of shutting down Williams, and he won't be as dominant in the paint this time.
Yeah, and I got Gonzaga winning this game between the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Gonzaga too talented. The only way that they get going, or the way that even the Raiders are even in this game to battle, is if they get Chet Holmgren, Andrew Timme in foul trouble, and then you have to rely on your pseudo big, which I don't think is going to be a great thing for Gonzaga if they have to do that. But we'll see what happens there again. But I think Gonzaga is too talented. Has a lot of talented players, so I don't see that being a problem. Let's move on to the East, Sean. Baylor, Marquette. I got Baylor. I think Baylor is just too good, even though they are brand new. A lot of brand new players to the team. I just think that Baylor just has enough pieces in them to get them to the next round. So I got Baylor winning their game against Marquette.
Yeah, Baylor still has, although they don't have as much talent, they still have that really physical, fast style play where they can really, win a boxing match against really anybody. And so I'm going to go with Baylor as well.
Okay. Wyoming. I got Wyoming versus UCLA. I got to go with UCLA. Too talented, that have played together for so long. And I just think that Jaime Jaquez is going to take over this game and get them to the next round to play Baylor.
Yeah, I'm going to go St. Mary's in mine.
Ooh.
St. Mary's over UCLA. I watched St. Mary's beat Oregon by 20. They dominated the Pac-12. I think the Pac-12 has been, they've come back down to earth. I do still think, they can make a run, but UCLA, I don't think is necessarily the Pac-12 team that will and can make a run. So I'm going to go with St. Mary's.
Okay. Let's see here. Next one, Texas, Purdue. I got Purdue here. I think Ivy's going to carry this team. I think Texas is too. They have too many transfers for me to have them be a team that's cohesive and play it together. So I got Purdue, the way that they've been playing, the way that they are together as a team. I just think that they stylistically play better than anybody in this team in in this conference. So I got Purdue winning that game.
Yeah, I also have Purdue winning, but over Virginia Tech. I really like Ivy just to absolutely carry that team. He's a beast, and then they have that like 7'3" center who's just elbowing everyone in the face every time he turns and hurting them. So, he's just a physical monster and a dirty player. But I think it's going to come to their advantage, and I don't think Virginia Tech or Texas match up well against them.
Okay, Sean sending some evidence for the NCAA referees to look at and watch those elbows.
Oh, he swings them. He swings them hard.
He swings them hard. Next matchup I have is Murray State versus University of Kentucky. I got Kentucky in this next round. I think Calipari is going to get them far. And I think Murray State's going to have their nice tournament run end there against the University of Kentucky.
Yeah, I got Kentucky over the Dons. The Dons, they may be the best team, the second best team in the country behind Kentucky. Just kidding. No, Kentucky's probably going to blow them out if, the Dons even make it past Murray State. So I'm going to have Kentucky moving on.
Yeah, I think Murray State Kentucky will actually be a really good game if that does happen. I do like those two teams matching up against each other. And I think it's going to be won by Kentucky just making a last-second shot over Murray State. And then Baylor UCLA. I got UCLA winning this game. I think UCLA again. I think experience and playing together as a team matters more than anything else in this tournament. And having some leadership and some older players kind of take over the helm. And so I got UCLA winning this game.
Really? Okay. I think Baylor's gonna win this game. I think Baylor's way too tough for UCLA, and UCLA is just not. I don't know. They're just not playing well. Maybe they'll play well enough to beat some teams. I guess I have St. Mary's there, so just to your bracket, I wouldn't pick UCLA, but St. Mary's versus Baylor. Baylor's gonna probably kill them, and I'm really hoping we don't have to play a rematch against Baylor, but we just might.
And then Purdue versus Kentucky. I got Purdue. I'm riding with Ivy. Ride or die with Ivy. Ivy's going to win this game. I think he's going to win against Kentucky. Again, it's going to be a good game. I think Purdue, another Big Ten. Like I talked about, the Big Ten is underperformed, but I think this is going to be the Big Ten team to really get them further along. Like you said, they have a lot of the pieces to carry them to that next round.
Yeah, Kentucky, they have a lot of talent, but I've just never truly believed in Calipari. So I'm gonna go with Purdue as well.
Califrati.
Yeah, exactly. Califrati. And Kentucky fans are just so toxic. I hate them. And so I'm gonna go with Purdue.
All right. And then we got Purdue versus UCLA. I'm gonna go with the rematch from the Final Four matchup. I'm going UCLA. Another Final Four rematch, Gonzaga versus UCLA. I think this is going to be a fun one to watch. Johnny Juzang versus a newly minted Gonzaga team with a lot of familiar faces with Drew Timme, obviously, but with Chet Holmgren kind of being the guy now for that team. I see them battling against UCLA, and we'll go over our Final Four picks in just a little bit. But I got Gonzaga UCLA in my Final Four.
I'm gonna have to go with Baylor over Purdue, and so we're gonna have another rematch. Baylor versus Gonzaga, but I think this time we have more size to deal with them. Although we aren't super physical, I think we're better suited to beat them given the players they lost and just the increased size that we have with a 7'1" center who can get 4 or 5 blocks a half. So.
All righty, moving on to the next round, we got Kansas versus Creighton. I got to go with Kansas here. I think Kansas is too good. As much as I like Creighton and the job that they've done, I just don't. I think the magic ends there, and I got Kansas winning as one of the Big 12 teams to make it to the next round.
Yeah, if you can drag it over, I think, because I picked Creighton to lose, but I have Kansas winning. I don't even remember who the matchup was. I think it was San Diego State. I have Kansas winning. So.
Okay, let's see here. And then Iowa Providence. I got Iowa here. I think Iowa's going to be a team that makes a run as well. They seem to have the momentum carrying them forward from the Big 12 tournament. And I just think that they are going to be a team that gets to the next round.
Who was playing against Iowa?
Providence.
Oh, I had Richmond, though. So I'm going to have Richmond versus Providence. I'm going to pick Providence. So I think it's going to be Kansas Providence.
Okay. Next round, we got LSU, Wisconsin. This is where the LSU Magic run ends. I got Wisconsin moving on to the next round. I just think Johnny Davis is going to have a big tournament. I think Wisconsin, obviously, they do a pretty good job of getting to the Sweet 16. It's beyond that where I just get a little bit concerned with, but I got Wisconsin in the next round.
Yeah, I have a Colgate over LSU, so I'm gonna have Colgate moving on to the next round here. I love the way they play. I think they've been, a really hot team. Obviously, I had them beating Wisconsin, who I don't truly trust, and I mean LSU, Iowa State. I think whoever emerges from that Colgate Wisconsin team, I don't think there's a better set of two teams you could potentially go against, to be able to beat them. So.
All right, and then we got Auburn versus Miami. I think this is going to be Auburn's game to win. Like I said, they have Jabari Smith, a top talented prospect for this NBA draft coming up. I think he's going to be able to carry them to the next round, but it's going to be up in the air once we move on to the next round. Who do you got, Sean?
Well, I got USC versus Jacksonville State, and I'm going to take USC. I think their size and their experience in the tournament they're really well built for this. Pac-12 seems to, favorably match up against a lot of teams outside of their conference. So I'm going to go USC.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm going with Kansas versus Iowa. I'm going to go with Iowa here. I'm going to go with the upset here. I think Iowa, they seem to have a team that is really well balanced. Like I talked about, the coaching has done an amazing job. They have great players. They have great team chemistry. And so I got Iowa winning this next game.
Wow. That's big. That's very big. I mean, for me, this is tough because I don't necessarily love Kansas, but I feel like this bracket in general is so easy that I think Kansas is going to walk through it, and so I'm going to take Kansas moving on.
Kansas moving on to the next round.
This is by far, to me, the weakest bracket, and it's not close.
It's not even close, and I agree. It's definitely not close. Next round, I got Wisconsin versus Auburn. I'm going with Wisconsin. I'm going with the Honey Badgers versus Iowa. Getting to the Elite Eight. I like Johnny Davis, man. I think he's going to be a great talent in the NBA. And like I said, you need one of those guys that can carry you to the next round. And if you have good guard play or good forward play, a guy that can get you buckets instantly, I think that does well. That bodes well for whatever team that is. And so I got a Big Ten sort of rematch between Wisconsin and Iowa for the final Elite Eight game.
Little Midwest flyover state matchup there.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with US. I think I had USC over Colgate, and so it's gonna be USC versus Kansas. And for me, Kansas is just gonna walk straight through to the Final Four. I just think that they got so lucky. I don't know how they landed with such a nice bracket, but I just don't see them losing.
Yeah. And then for my final, Iowa versus Wisconsin, I'm going with the Honey Badgers in the Final Four. Honey Badgers in the Final Four.
This for Josh, huh?
This for Josh. Shout out to Josh. We're going with Wisconsin in the Final Four. I just think it bodes well for them. And so my Final Four on that side, of course, is Wisconsin in the Midwest. Let's move on to the east side, or the south side, Sean. The South, the dirty South. Arizona, Seton Hall. Arizona, one of the hottest teams in the nation. I think that, again, they're without their guard, Kissier, but I think that they're going to do an amazing job with Matherin and their pair of bigs that I think do very well. Ballo, and the only reason why I know Ballo is just because he went to Gonzaga, and I can't remember the other big. He's also really good. Let me see if I can find what this big's name is. Let's see if I can find his name. Oh, this is gonna frustrate me.
I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Okay. As you do that, I'm gonna be looking for this guy's name. Christian Coloco, 7'1", center, 230. This kid has been playing amazing. Again, only a sophomore. And I think has already made himself an NBA draft prospect. Not sure what round or what pick he would go. I'd have to do a little bit more research in terms of finding out like what I really think about him in terms of as an NBA prospect. But I really like the way that he plays the game. So I got Arizona going on to that next round. And so as we wait for Sean, again, if you guys are new to the channel, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. If you're new to the channel, remember, the more likes, the more subscribers, the more that this channel grows and develops into something that could be special. And again, like I said, I want to develop this channel to have more than just basketball. And I'm in talks right now with some people to really get that going, because I would love to start this channel of more than just basketball, talking football. Want to talk that Russell Wilson trade. Want to talk, Aaron Rodgers' new contract. Kaepernick potentially going to the Seahawks. There's a lot of stuff to talk about NFL wise. And so, like I said, if you guys are new to the channel, or if you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comment section down below, because like I said, I would love to start talking about that stuff. Continuing going forward, I think that, like I said, there's a need and there's a want for that stuff on this channel, and I think Tyrese would be down for that. I know Sean, trying to convince him, my intern, to get into it. And I have other friends as well. We'll also talk Premier League soccer as well, or football, if you will. And so I think that that's another thing that you guys should be looking forward to on this channel, is just the growth and development of really just making this more than just, I would say, just basketball, and really let it grow. So let us know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about that. All right, Sean, I picked Arizona to win this game against Seton Hall. Who you got?
I'm gonna pick Arizona as well. I think Tommy Treason is built to, consistently at least make, Sweet 16s. So he's a lot like Marks.
Just without the drinking problem. Maybe he does have a drinking problem. Maybe he does.
Give him some time as head coach.
Yeah, we just give him a little bit of time, and we'll see what goes on in there. Next round, I got University of Alabama Birmingham versus University of Chattanooga. I'm gonna let the roll keep going. I've gotten University of Chattanooga winning this. They have a great guard. I think he's gonna be able to carry them to the next round. So I got University of Chattanooga versus Arizona in the Sweet 16.
I think I had Illinois versus Houston, but I'm going to go with Houston, and so it's going to be Houston versus Arizona.
All right. Next one, we got Colorado State versus Tennessee. I think this also has potential upset alert matchup. I got Colorado State. I think that they have a guy that's just unstoppable, and I like the way that the team plays. So I got to go with Colorado State, man. They're a good team.
Yeah, and so I have Colorado State versus Longwood, the legends, and as much as I don't want to end their journey, I think, again, Colorado State's a really good team, and so I think Colorado State's going to move on. Longwood
gets cut short in this round of 32.
Sadly, they'll have to go back to playing Oral Roberts.
Oral Roberts. We'll go Ohio State versus Villanova. Jay Wright, too good of a coach. I got Colorado State versus Villanova in the Sweet 16. I think that there's going to be a good matchup between those two teams. I just don't trust Ohio State moving forward than just the round of 32.
Yeah, so we're going to have Emperor Palpatine and the Golden Retrievers versus Villanova for me. And I'm going to have to go with Nova. I think, Nova's probably the second best coach team in the country, if not the best coach team in the country. I probably will even rate them over Mark Few, but I'm going to go Villanova.
All right, and then we got number 1 versus number 13, Chattanooga versus Arizona. This is Tommy Lloyd's year. He's moving on to the Elite Eight. I just see great things happening for Arizona. Like I said, one of the hotter teams, and I think this is about the time where they'll get Kessier back. Just due to the fact that he's been hurt, obviously with the purple ankle, it's just not going to be. He's just not going to be ready in time for these next 2 rounds. But I think the Elite Eight he'll be ready for.
Yep. And then so I have Tommy Treason against Houston, and I'm going to go with Tommy Treason as well. I think he just has so much experience, and they have, a nice mix of depth and experience at Arizona with talent, where they were just waiting for a really good coach to come in and really center them. And I think they're ready to go on a run.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to this next round, Colorado State versus Villanova. I gotta go with Jay Wright, the more experienced coach. I trust him more. I think I like the way that his style of play. They have Giuseppe, a guy that's going to be able to get them to the next round. So I got Arizona versus Villanova, 1 versus 2 in the South region.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the same as well. I think Villanova is just extremely well coached, and they have good talent, and they're always primed for a run. And the way the bracket works out, I do think that they end up facing, someone like Colorado State instead of like a Tennessee. If they did face a Tennessee, I think it could be a toss-up, but I don't think Tennessee's going to make it that far, and so I'm going to go Villanova versus Arizona.
All right, and then we got 1 versus 2. I think this is Tommy Lloyd's year. I think this is the best Arizona team that we've seen in a while, and I just think that the style of play that they play just suits so well for their team. And so I got Arizona versus Wisconsin in the Final Four, and this is how my Final Four shakes up. Sean, who do you got?
Oh man, yeah, this is tough. This is a really tough matchup here. I'm gonna have to go with Arizona too. I think Arizona has more size, and I think ultimately that's what's going to be the difference against Villanova is the ability to dominate the glass. They stole Ballo from us when treason committed his treason. So I think Arizona is going to come to the Final Four, and I think it'll be an epic storyline. Depending on how this all plays out, but we could see a Duke Gonzaga rematch and then a Duke Baylor rematch, and potentially Gonzaga Arizona. We'll see, but it's going to be exciting.
Yep, and then we got our Final Four picks. Who's going to move on? Gonzaga versus UCLA. I got to go with Gonzaga here. I think that this is going to be a year where I think Gonzaga is able to do it. Like I said, I'm really big on Chet Holmgren. I come back from dinner and I have a tendency to say I didn't know after every pick Bernie takes a shot. No, that would be too crazy. I think I'd be wrong on every single one. But I got Gonzaga over UCLA. I think this is going to come down to the wire once again. But I think UCLA's magic is going to run out here in the Final Four, as Gonzaga just has too much firepower, too much talent, too many guards, too many bigs to really be. And I think your dogs agree as well, Sean. It's got to be Gonzaga over UCLA.
Yeah, that was an agreement bark by Yoshi. Yeah, and so then I have Gonzaga versus Baylor, and I'm terrified for that type of matchup, but I'm gonna go with Gonzaga. Obviously, I gotta ride with my team, and I think we have, kind of fixed the holes that exposed us last year. I think we have more depth. Although I am still worried that, by the time the national championship comes, Mark Few has been slowly cutting away minutes from Hunter Salas and Nolan Hickman. And to me, that really worries me because I don't want to go into another national championship running, 6 players deep max and having a bunch of tired legs. Yeah. Especially if we do have to go into some type of overtime game. I think that really destroyed us last year. And I'm going to pull up Arizona stats real quick because I want to see how many players deep they're running. And maybe Tommy Lloyd. Let's see. Lloyd. So I mean, they're running way deeper than Gonzaga does. And for me, that's been my biggest issue with Mark Few, is that he refuses to utilize depth and develop them when we are playing against these WCC teams. They should be getting a lot more minutes than they do. Just in case we do get in foul trouble. But obviously, I'm gonna have Gonzaga in the final. But I am worried that Tommy Lloyd could have potentially learned from Mark Few's mistakes and repetitive mistakes. So we'll see.
And then moving on to the final team, Arizona versus Wisconsin. Obviously, this is going to be a great matchup. I got to go with Tommy Lloyd here, Tommy Treason, as you all call him. This is going to be one of the most epic matchups in the NCAA tournament. Just storyline-wise, I think you could see it. The apprentice has finally become the teacher. The teacher has finally become the master. And it's going to be a battle of Tommy Lloyd versus Mark Few. And I think, like you said, inside Gonzaga circles, who was really pulling the strings there for Gonzaga? Was it Tommy Lloyd or was it Gonzaga? And I think this tournament is going to prove and show what is going to happen in this tournament. Gonzaga versus Arizona in the final.
Yeah. So I have Arizona versus Kansas because Kansas just had that super easy walkthrough. And this is a tough one. This is a tough one, but I do want to see Arizona versus Gonzaga, so I'll pick Arizona because I think that would be just the greatest storyline, that we've seen. So,
and then it comes down to this, Sean. Final 2, Gonzaga, Arizona. Like I said, the storyline is there. The storyline written in the stars. You could not write Hollywood could not have written a better script if you would even be able to find a writer that could write the script that well. Arizona versus Gonzaga.
It's scripted.
Yeah, this whole thing was scripted for an Arizona Gonzaga matchup. We all know it. We can check the tapes on that. I think when it comes down to it all, Gonzaga versus Arizona. Did Gonzaga do enough this offseason to get enough recruits to come in here and help Mark Few win the so coveted NCAA trophy? And I gotta say, it's gonna be the battle of the Mohicans, battle of the Titans. I think that the bigs match up very well for Arizona and Gonzaga, and I think you need good big play. And the question is, can Gonzaga survive? A big matchup of Ballo and man, I just had his name and I'm gonna be so mad that I don't have it now.
Ballas? Is that his name?
It's like Okuro something. Where is he? I had it right here.
Christian Coloco.
Christian Coloco. There you go. Man, I'm so mad I keep forgetting the name. Christian Coloco. I think it's gonna be hard, man. It's gonna be hard to bet to go against that. But oh man, this is a tough one because I think I could see it going either way, man. I could see it going either way. But it's gonna come down to guard play, and I think Arizona guards play is just a little bit less, especially depth wise in terms of the guard play. That I'm leaning towards Gonzaga. It's got to be Gonzaga. As much as I want to see Tommy Lloyd win this ship, I think Gonzaga is just too good with the guard play in terms of their backup guards. I think that they have that for you guys. And so I got to go with Gonzaga over Arizona. And I got this being a 68-65 game. That's
yeah. Yep. I mean, it's difficult because I've seen Mark Few, lose twice now in the national championship. And to me, it's like, we don't have one of those players this year that can take over a game like we did with Arizona. What we did with North Carolina with a Nigel Williams-Goss, who can just get you a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
We have good players, but we really need to rely on our depth. And so if Mark Few doesn't do that, I don't know what's going to happen. But I do like our matchup favorably against any Pac-12 team, any of them. And so if Arizona is facing Gonzaga in the national championship, I'm going to take Gonzaga, and I think the score is going to be 76-68 Gonzaga.
Ooh, okay. And guys, that is it. I mean, we've all picked our brackets. We've all picked our, kind of biggest upsets. I think that there's a lot of things to talk about. Like I said, one of my bigger upsets is obviously Davidson over Duke. I think that just has everything written for them. That has, I think that the way that Davidson plays is a lot better than the way that Duke plays in terms of team unity. Plays more Spurs, Golden State-like, rather than Duke, who's, again, a team that's just put together and there's no real cohesion there. But nevertheless, that is our Final Four championship NCAA March Madness there. Again, like I said, I got Arizona and Gonzaga in the final, and I got Gonzaga winning by 3 because I think that this is just going to be an epic battle. And before we get going, Sean, do you have any last things to say before we sign out of here?
Besides it go Zags, let's go Longwood. I'm rooting for Longwood.
Can Longwood make the long haul to the NCAA championship? That's for you to find out. Let us know in the comment section down below. Let us know in there as well who you think is going to be the biggest upset. Who do you think is going to be the biggest winner? Who's going to be the biggest loser in this tournament? And also, who do you guys think is going to win this whole thing? I have Gonzaga. Sean has Gonzaga. Obviously there's many different ways that these teams can go, but ultimately we ended up with the same final 2 matchup. And I just think that this is going to be a fun NCAA because, like I said, it is so up in the air. It's so open. Who knows who will win this whole thing? And so this is going to be, like I said, a fun and exciting time to watch this whole thing. And again, it starts tonight with the first game obviously happening with Texas Southern winning their game, and now Wyoming versus Indiana going on as we speak, as we're recording this video, 6:49 here in March 15th, 2022.
Does Rutgers play tomorrow?
Rutgers plays tomorrow. They play tomorrow, and
cool.
I believe they'll play on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
I need that dub.
He needs that dub.
My bracket's busted.
The bracket's officially busted, and he has to go home and tell his parents why he lost his house and now is living with them again. But with that being said, like I said, let us know in the comment section down below. What do you guys make of all of this tournament? And guys, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Remember, the more likes, the more subscribers, the more that this channel can grow and develop into something that we both know can make a huge impact in everybody's lives. Like I said, we are working on adding different avenues, different situations here. Again, wanted to add football, wanted to add soccer, wanted to add a lot of different sports, because I think that the charge can be more than just basketball. I think it can be everything that is involved in sports, because we all talk about it, we all love it. And so with that being said, we'll catch you guys. Sorry, Siri had to talk, but we'll catch everybody on the next episode of The Charge. We'll let you know when that is. And again, this video will be put out. I'll put out a Sweet 16. Maybe we'll even do it by bracket, by what, and I'll cut it up into smaller pieces. But with that being said, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and we'll catch everybody on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.
Let's go Zags.
Oh my goodness, not a go Zags. Oh my goodness. All right.